All right, solution time for the exercises. The first exercise is to take this sentence and we want to reverse it and uppercase it at the same time. So that is as simple as, I'll do it in the workbench. I'll take this sentence and select the reverse of the uppercase, which I also could do U case, of this string. The order doesn't really matter. Do we uppercase and then reverse, or do we reverse and then uppercase? It doesn't matter, but let's run this. And that's what we get back right there. This lovely piece of text. I can also, of course, just paste it over here. And that's what we get. Why does my cat look at me with such hatred? ? But in reverse. Okay, next up. What does this print out? So we evaluate this from the inside out, right? This concat is nested in the replace. So we start with a concat. What does this give us? I space like space cats. It gives us the sentence, I like cats. But immediately afterwards, we have our replace, which takes that sentence, I like cats, and replaces all spaces with dashes. So our output will look something like this. I like cats. Let's see, am I correct? And there it is. I dash like dash cats. So we concat with the spaces first, and then replace that string, replace all spaces with dashes. Next up, we're going to write a query from our select from our books table to work with the titles, replace the spaces in the titles with a arrow. So let's do this again over in an editor. Let's do it here. Select, and then we want to replace from the title, we want to replace space characters with an arrow from books. And if we run that, look at the output here. That looks correct, except for one thing, which remember, all of these tables or all of these outputs I've shown you have customized or aliased column names there. So let's change that. Let's take this and do an as title from books. Paste this over here, make sure it works. There we are. It looks good. If I didn't have that as title, then we just end up with this sort of ugly heading that just says the operation, the function name. All right, so that's how we can replace in every title all spaces with arrows. Next up, print this out. So we have the last name of an author and then the last name in reverse, and it's called forwards and backwards. So let's start over here. Shrink you down. Let's select. The easy one is just author. I think it's author L name from author or from books. Let's just start with that. Make sure that works. And that gives us the last names. Great. But then I want to also, with a comma, select the reverse of author L name from, and I messed that up. This needs to go right after our first column, then our second one, from books. Let's run it. And just as a reminder, when I click that second lightning bolt, it's just running where my cursor is, so none of these other queries are running. And that looks good, right? Lahiri and then Erie Hall, or whatever it's supposed to be pronounced backwards. The only thing we have remaining is to rename our columns. So I'm going to call this one as forwards, and this one will be as backwards, or did I call it reverse? No, forwards and backwards. All right, and then we could format this as well if we really wanted to. Does that make it much better? Maybe a little bit. Let's run it in my console this time, and there we are. Forwards and backwards. Next up, print out the full name of each author in caps. So full name means their first name and last name smushed together with a space. So that's going to be using concat, or we're going to do that using concat. Let's do it again over here in a file. So let's start by worrying about the concat, and we'll wait to worry about the uppercasing. So select, we're going to concatenate author F name with a space with author L name from books. And that should hopefully just give us first and last name with a space. Looks good to me. Jhumpa Lahiri, Neil Gaiman, the space is there. So now we need to uppercase. And there's a couple ways of doing this, of course, but the simplest one is to uppercase after we concat. But we could have uppercase this and then concatenated them. I think it makes more sense to just upper the result of that concatenation. So if we try that, there we are. We're getting the full name with a space in uppercase. The last thing we need to do is rename the column there. Our output is supposed to say full name in caps. So let's do that as full name in caps. Just like that. And let's run this one in my shell again. Full name in caps. Looks good. Next up, we've got to make this blurb happen. So the blurb is the title of a book, and then a space, and it's this whole piece of text here, was released in, and then the year. And then, of course, we call it blurb. So we're going to do some concatenation. We know that. What are we concatenating? Well, we're going to concatenate the book's title with a space at the beginning, was released in, and then another space, because we need those spaces because the title doesn't have a trailing space. So we want the space, was released in, space, and then the year, and I believe what we're looking for is called released year. Let's just verify. Yes, released year. So we'll put that in here. Released _year from books. And if we run that and expand this, it's really annoying that this keeps shrinking down. The namesake was released in 2003. Norse Mythology was released in 2016. That's what we're supposed to do. All we have left to do now is rename this, use as blurb. Try it again. And it's probably impossible for you to see that it says blurb there, but it does. Let's just copy and paste it over to our shell. There we are, blurb. Okay, next up, print the book titles and the length of each title. So the title part's easy, and then the length of each title is in characters, so don't forget that. We're going to do a select title, comma, and then we want char length of the title from books, just like that. And we should see, the namesake 12. Is that correct? Namesake 12. Norse Mythology 15. And then we just need to rename the columns again. Character count is what that one should say, because right now, if we run this, it says char length of title. So let's rename that as character count. And copy that, paste it here. And just as a reminder, I'm only pasting it over here because it's impossible for you to see the results and the name of each one of these columns. And if we take a look, it looks good. Character count and title. And I think we have one more, the most complicated one. We have 3 pieces of information. Let's start with the short title. It's the first 10 characters, so it's a substring. And then we concatenate, but let's just get the substring of the title working first. We actually saw how to do this already. It's substring or sub-str of the title. And then we have to say what character we start at. So position 1 and how many characters we move on for. 10, I think, is what we wanted. Let's verify. The name say, S-A, that's what we were supposed to have. American G looks good to me. Okay, then we want to concatenate that with a ... right? So I'm going to take my concat, wrap it around this substra, and then add in ... So this should then concatenate the shortened version, the substring, with the ... And we want to call that short title. So we'll start with that as short title. All right, let's format this. And now we have 1/3 of what we need, at least in terms of the number of columns, maybe not in terms of the amount of work. Now let's move on to the next piece, which is the author. But our author field here is going to have the author's last name, a comma, then their first name. So we're going to concatenate, once again, the author's last name, so author L name, and then a comma. And you could technically use concat ws for the separator and put the comma first, but this is easy enough. And then author last name, or first name rather, because it's last then first, and we're calling this author, I believe. Make sure I have that correct. As author. Let's run this one. Author, Lahiri, Jumpa, Gaiman, Neil, Eggers, Dave. That's what it's supposed to be. And then our quantity is supposed to be the number in stock. So that's going to be another concat. And this time we're concating the number that we have. I think it's called stock quantity. Can verify again, select star from books. And it is indeed called stock quantity. So stock quantity, and then we're concatenating that with in stock, or technically space in stock, as quantity, I think is what it's supposed to be called. Moment of truth here. Whew. There's a lot to this exercise. Let's see. 32 in stock, 43 in stock, 12 in stock, 97 in stock. That looks good to me. 104 in stock for Heartbreaking Work of Staggering Genius. Okay, that's it for this exercise. Whew, there was a lot of practice with string functions. Next up, we're going to continue leveling up our skills and learn how to refine our selections even further.